as a vivid pusher now of Grace and Gloria, I actually got a little bit, but the actual life point damage that was inflicted was like, no, don't lose Grace and Gloria, no. Like, honestly, it's like, can you guys just like, fuck it, just like come up with some magic bullshit, just say, oh, Smile World at the end just made you guys become, because I like them, I think they're really cool, and it might have a lot to do with their decks and their personalities, and it's like, I like Grace, and it's like, Gloria's also cool as well. It's like, honestly, it's like they got a really cool deck, I can't help it. And then there was a tag duel with Yuya and Kurosaki, and I was like, I find it a little bit, one thing about this episode that kind of, I don't know why, a little iffy a little bit. It's like, oh, the main reason that like Gongenzaka really lost to these guys, like while Saratari's on his side, is because of the rule set that they put out. It was like, oh, you have to share your graveyard, you have to share like your monsters, you have to share your life points. Like, I mean, I've never, like, that's the only thing I didn't like about these duels that they had, obviously with all of, like, as well, from what we saw, the resistance as well. It's just like, I don't know, like every time I pick it up, like, had a tag duel in any other series, that the only difference has been like, oh yeah, we both have 4,000. It's just like they didn't want to go on with this duel too long. That's what I felt like. But then it's like, oh, the reason Gongenzaka like lost was because he had to share the graveyard, and obviously that's the situation that some of these cards don't exactly work with their effects with that. No, it's just that they own their like entire asses. They were trying to cheer up like the Gongenzaka fans. It's like, I don't know, like his super heavy armor deck is cool, but I mean, come on, you got Raid Raptors and you got the Pendulums, and it's like, it's such a deck where it's like near impossible to use in a tag duel. I know it's anime at the end of the day, but Gongenzaka's like, fuck man, I can't play a single card. Or like, yo, Saratari, don't fucking get anything, just get into the graveyard, please. It was a complete and utter mismatch, and I've got to say, I like this duel a lot. I think this is a really cool duel. However, though, I will say, my god, like throughout a good majority of like this episode, I would like to say like it was for quite, I'd like to say about like maybe 70% or over half of it, like the characters looked really off model for a good majority of this episode. Like, I remember it was like one of the Tyler sisters looked really off at like one point, like her face was really off, like Yuya's face has been a little bit off, like Kurosaki, it was like, it looked kind of like, it looked rough at parts, and I was like, I think that's like, that's budget coming into it. I think that's budget saying, hey, you know, that's being a bit of a bitch right now. However, though, I really do like that some of the new, like, what Amazonist cards that they had, like, going out throughout this entire duel was, like, I really like that, what they had is, like, anytime that you special summon a monster, this is what you gotta do. It's like, oh, you gotta give us life points every time that you special summon a monster, and then you have to, like, they have a continuous spell card that has to choose, like, you either choose a normal summon, or you either choose special summons, and, like, if you use special summons, you can't use anything else, and it's like, well, that fucking, like, it's like, oh, well, it's like, normal summon or special summon, like, what's your option there? And it's like, well, obviously special summon. It's like, well, you keep special summoning, I'm just gonna keep bringing out more monsters, and it's just like, I love Grace, I love Gloria. Like, let's bring out the pet Liger, let's bring out the Queen. Like, they already knew that their game planned immediately from the start, and I was like, very weird that like Liger didn't, like, unlike like the last duel that we had with the Resistance and all that. It was like very interesting that Liger didn't really do it like as much as that like intimidating like 500 losing life point stuff like as always. It was that, and then also as well having the battle between like Kurosaki wanting to go fucking mental throughout the entirety of that, and then Yuso as well as like, oh, you attacked the Resistance. Seriously, the guys in XYZ like have so many fucking anger management issues. I mean, their entire world's a bit of an apocalypse, so I think I might let it slide. Although I really was liking some of the new cards that like Kurosaki was bringing out, like he was bringing out an equip card, but the Raid Raptors had immediately like quick change, and like there was a really badass moment where he like got all of the, I think it was like Blaze Falcon out, or like one of like the like Kurosaki's like Raid Raptors monsters, and he was like, oh, I'm just gonna use Rise Falcon's effect like that, boom, like that, and get like both like the Liger and them, and since their life points are increasing, but then Grace and Gloria like took the fucking damage and just like fucking flew it back, and I was like, okay. So it's like the entire episode did not look like ass. Like, that's the thing. It's just that the only thing that's like it wasn't just bad animation. It was just like the models were really off. like both Kurosaki and both Yuya at the end was like really doing some great like shit like to actually use. It's like he was even using like some of Kurosaki's cards, like using one of the Raid Raptors to bring out like Dark Rebellion. Although the ending is really fucking silly. It was like, I'm gonna bring out this giant rocket ship and I'm gonna put XYZ Dragon and the fucking like Raid Raptor in the ship, and it looks so fucking dumb. I mean, and to the point like the Tyler sisters had about like 10,000 life points. It was ridiculous. And then they had like a like special like thing where it was like, oh, we're gonna use this mirror, where it's like, oh, we can negate a battle as well, but it's like, oh, but we don't take any damage from this thing. But it's like, well, why? Like, I don't know. It's just at that point, it's like, would you really let this thing that's attacking you for nothing without? It's like, it's clearly got an effect going into it, and then it's like, oh yeah, we'll use Smile World as well to increase like, you know, all our power, and then we're gonna like use the XYZ like dragon to like drain your Liger. It's just like just the bit where like the Tyler sisters are just there, like Grace and Gloria are just like looking at the rocket and looking at it and going, ah, like clapping and shit. It's like, don't you want to do something about this? Like, don't you want to like, I don't know, like try and negate it? And it's just, I don't know, they were funny at points and all that, like exactly when it was like, oh yeah, like we're gonna like, we can restore our life points from like one battle. It was like this like whole like little bit of like hot spring, like Amazona's hot spring, and like Grace is just like fucking flicking her hair, and she's like, ah, much better. And I'm just like, these girls have got sass and they're really cool. But like, and this is something that really like the series, like especially for all the Yu-Gi-Oh series, it's just like they try a lot sometimes and it kind of fails, but it's like you do kind of need those badass girls like in the series like that. I mean, Yuzu's like, she's like obviously the sweet girl, like she's supposed to be nice, and it's like, you know, obviously from the original Yu-Gi-Oh you had Mai, who fell in like, you know, that badass role, and you had Taya as the, you know, like the emotional support, and then coming into GX that you had Alexis. Like, these probably did it the best with Akiza, where Akiza slightly got nicer and nicer throughout the series, but for like the start of it, she was a mega bitch. And then like during like, you know, Xiao, you didn't really get to see like that kind of girl up until you saw Shark's sister, which, you know, she was cool, but she didn't have a lot of screen time up until like the very end of the series. There we get this, and we got the addition of Alexis. I mean, I like, so far, like Academia, I'm liking these soldiers so far. I'm really liking these elite ones, and definitely, like I said, Grace and Gloria, like, if they became good guys, I'd be totally down for it. I'll be like, hey, you join the Lancers and we'll give you all kind of battles, because it's like, oh, we're super starved and shit, and it's like, oh, we'll fucking just do that, like, you know, we'll just go with them and they'll give us battles all the time if we go over here, like, some stuff, no, some fucking stupid shit like that. It's like, I'll be down for that, but it's like, I guess that's just because, like, they made a very strong impression on me in the start. I was like, I don't want them to lose, like that, and I was looking at, like, in the conversations, like, from you guys last week saying, hey, who's your favourite one, Grace or Gloria, and I'm like, I was seeing a couple of Glorias there, but it's like, nah, to me, it's gotta be Grace. I don't know, it's honestly just the voice, and honestly I dig like how she's got the white hair. That's just how it is and all that. Like whoever does like the voice actress, she's fucking like that is a soothing voice, and like Gloria just sounds a little bit more too like aggressive. But no, I like a little bit of sass like when it comes to this chick. Like, I think she's awesome. On that, I can't look at her back that like, oh yeah, it looked rough at parts, like characters were really off model, and I don't accept my Grace and Gloria being off model there. So, but overall the duel kind of ended a little weird, although I kind of like, even though the girls were just like, yo, like, regardless of what, this rocket ship show looks cool anyway. It's just like, you should be paying attention to the match, like, come on. But it's like, regardless of what, like, I think how it ended, we are definitely going to see more of them. Although next week kind of looks like, oh, we're just going to be fighting the Obelisk Force. And it's like, how many of these guys have we fought so far? And it's like, they're building up like, oh yes, the Obelisk Force. So it's like, you and them like handed like their asses like during when they're in like the fucking like the normal dimensions. It's like, really? And it's like, I'm looking forward to Kurosaki dueling again next week. I'm looking forward to that because like, yeah, we're getting a lot of screen time with him, but it's like, come on, like, they're the fucking Obelisk Force. I think I would give this episode, like, I think the duel was fine, although I really wish that it was more like a two-part or anything, or like, I think that's like the one thing I've got to say about like Arc 5 especially, is that I've wanted these duels to be a lot longer. For a lot of them, like, I feel like they're being really short and kind of rushing them. Like, although it does pay off, it's like, oh, we get to like go into the next story, or we get to go to the next battle. But it's like, if we do either get like dueled off with like, you know, the Crust Fox, like the Obelisk Force, and it's like when you introduce really like as I thought, like these are really strong characters. I like Grace and Gloria, and it's like, I wish we had a little bit more of them. That's just it. I mean, and that's being greedy as well. It's like we had one duel with them going against the Resistance, and then we had like one duel there. I don't know. I think I'd rather have it just be one duel like against, I don't know, like the Resistance, and it's like they fucking own their ass, and then it's like we don't see them again for a while, like maybe like another 10 episodes, and then maybe they might have their duel with Yuya and Kurosaki. I feel like that'd be fine. I would give this episode a 6.5 out of 10 low. I think it's a fine episode. Cannot excuse how poor the animation was, and I was like, I kind of wanted a little bit more like out of it, although like the rocket ship thing was so fucking dumb, but it was still a fun episode, and I think like definitely Grace and Gloria like held up the episode for me. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What do you think about this? Would you a little bit on this episode, and also as well you kind of get a little bit annoyed about like all this fodder ass like overless source people and like all these people that you know are gonna get fucking destroyed. Other than that and all that, I wish we saw a little bit more of Grace, because Grace is my waifu, and if anyone takes her, I will fucking break your kneecaps in. That's all from me, so thank you much for watching as always, and I'll see you beautiful bastards next time.